You got me running, you got me hiding, you got me wrong, narrow anyway you let it go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got me doing what you want me, baby, what you want me to do. Alright, people tend to get real sad or get into some desperation sometimes. But what are you going to do instead of jumping off the building? Now, all you got is rock and roll, baby.
下半场第一组 Rock OA 摇滚时代，演讲者史康君。
Everyone's got a partner. I'm all alone. Okay. Now, I know I look kind of stupid in that video, right? Today, I'm going to talk to you about rock and roll. Now, my name is Sean. First, what is rock and roll? Like this? Yes or no? Yes? No? Please say no. Yeah, please say no. That is what I'm talking about. Now, when we talk of rock and roll, we can trace back to the 1950s, and that's when Doris Day, Frank Sinatra, and Nat King Cole dominated the American pop charts. Now, if you don't know who they are, anyone know who they are? I mean, like teachers or parents? Alright, there you go. Now, at the same time in the South, rhythm and blues came of age and soon dominated some pop charts in another part of America. Now, since the artists were all black, they were given the name race music, but the white guys actually loved it. I don't mean anything by painting this heart black, okay? I'm not racist. Now, blues rock plays the biggest role in rock music, and it has its own rule that every musician should follow, and that's the rule. So now you can see, this one is the first chord. We take E as the example, right? This is the fourth, and the fifth. So when we combine that together, we create a Elvis Presley style, like yeah, that's how it is. So let's move on to the next, the 60s. The 60s, songwriting moved beyond just simple love songs. It started including some social consciousness, such as President Kennedy being shot in the head, the Watts riot, and the Vietnam War controversy. And that's when the hippie culture emerged. What is hippie? Well, hippies sought to free themselves from social restrictions, find their own way, find new meanings in life. So I think you all read of Lao Tzu, right? So if you all know about it, you might understand how their mind works. So that's why the band embraced sex and youthful rebellions in their music. And here's a song from the 60s. It is All Along the Watchtower by Bob Dylan. There must be some kind of way out of here. Say the joker to the thief. Yeah, that's basically how it sounds. The time is limited, I can't do all of it. Now, we move on to the 70s and the 80s. We call it the heyday. So, what is heyday? Heyday means the climax, the biggest success of that kind of music. Okay? Now, in that decade, We start from the 70s. The 70s is important because it is a bridge between the hippie culture in the 60s and the yuppie culture that occurred in the 80s. Now again, what is yuppie? Yuppie. It refers to some young professionals that attempt to earn good pays and the sophisticated urban life, which means complex city life. Now, in the 80s, a lot of genres has emerged, and I especially want to introduce to you hair bands. Because these male-only bands means they're all men, okay? But they all got long, dramatic hair. They wear makeup. They wear spandex clothing, just to create some androgynous look. So it is kind of hard to tell if they're man or women, okay? These are some notable bands. This is Bon Jovi. This is my favorite. Now, Aerosmith, bands like that. So songwriting in that genre, people started using philosophical lyrics. You know, it's got some deeper. It might be deeper than you think. You know. All right, we're started. They try to use philosophical lyrics to express the message that they're trying to include their listeners. Now, heavier guitar riffs and louder decibels means now just louder. It doesn't mean louder. It helps those being upset about the status quo in their country. Here's an example from the 80s. Is One Day Alive Bon Jovi? Yeah, I think so. Cowboy, I think someone knows this. Now, we move on to the 90s. We call it the last day. It's kind of sad. And that's when glam metal artists such as Warrant, that's Firehouse, and Warrant, and like Skid Row, bands of these, they experienced their biggest success in the beginning of the 90s. However, their fame soon goes down after 1992. So, bye-bye. Now, however, some bands like Aerosmith and Bon Jovi, they maintained their popularity throughout the entire decade. How did they do that? That's because they reinvent themselves through every new album that comes out in each year, and they're trying to discover new sounds. That's how they survive. This is an example from the 90s. You guys all know this, I think. I could stay awake just to hear you breathing. I just smile when you. Yeah, that's Aerosmith. Now, conclusion is rock and roll. The term rock and roll hasn't been changed since it was first used in the 50s, but it is more like a spirit than just a certain type of music. Now we know screaming, that distortion down, and now drums. We don't need that anymore. That is not necessary to rock and roll. All we need is the heart, right? Rock and roll is a reflection to different generations. It is some place to go when you're helpless. It is some way to express when you got no one to talk to. So whenever you need it, rock and roll will always be there.